In the middle of a Seoul street, an elderly Korean woman drops to her knees before a young black woman. Tears streaming down her face, she's begging, pleading, for this stranger to become her grandchild's mother. The baby in the woman's arms isn't hers. The phones keep recording. The whispers grow louder. And this moment, this is where everything changes. Welcome back to the channel. I'm telling you right now, this story is going to blow your mind. The plot twists, they'll hit you like a freight train. So smash that subscribe button, grab your snacks, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and buckle up. This is the story of betrayal, forbidden love, and the most unexpected revenge you've ever heard. Our story begins with Amara, a 24-year-old woman from Gabon. She arrived in Seoul 6 months ago with one simple goal: work as a private cook, save money, and eventually return home to build a better life for her family. She wasn't looking for adventure. She wasn't looking for love. She just wanted to do her job, listen to her Gabonese music, cook her meals, and mind her business. Amara worked for the Choi family, one of the wealthiest, most dangerous families in Seoul. But she didn't know half of it. Mrs. Choi, the elegant matriarch who hired her, seemed kind enough. The house was massive. The pay was good. And most importantly, everyone left her alone. What Amara didn't know was that Mrs. Choi's son, Jae-won, was no ordinary businessman. Choi Jae-won, who was 28 years old, devastatingly handsome, cold as ice, and the leader of one of the most feared mafia gangs in South Korea, the Crimson Dragons. Jae-won lived by one code, and one code only: no women, no children, only power and loyalty to the gang. His parents had no idea about his double life. To them, he was just their successful, mysterious son who worked in import-export. But in the underworld, his name made grown men tremble, and his gang had rules, strict rules. Rule number 1, no leader could ever have a romantic relationship or father a child. It was considered a weakness, a distraction, a betrayal. Jae-won had followed this code religiously for years. He was disciplined, focused, untouchable, until her. It was a Wednesday evening. Jae-won came home earlier than usual, exhausted from a particularly brutal gang meeting. He was thirsty. The house was quiet, and he just needed water. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Amara was in her element. Earphones in, music blasting, some classic Gabonese soukous that made her hips sway as she stirred the pot. She was wearing what she always wore while cooking alone: a mini skirt and a comfortable bra. It was her space, her time. Nobody ever came into the kitchen this late. She sang along, lost in the melody, her dark skin glowing under the warm kitchen lights. Jae-won called out for water. Once, twice, nothing. She couldn't hear him, so he walked in. And the moment he saw her, everything stopped. Her back was to him, her curves silhouetted against the stove light. The way she moved, so free, so unguarded. It was like watching someone exist in their purest form. Jae-won, the man who never felt anything, felt something crack open inside his chest. He should have left. He should have grabbed his water and walked away. But he didn't. Instead, he stepped closer, closer, until he was right behind her. And then, he did something he'd never done before. He reached out and gently placed his hands on her waist. Amara froze, not in fear, not in shock, but in a curiosity. She didn't pull away. She didn't scream. She just let him. Slowly, she turned around. Their eyes met, his dark, dangerous, and full of something she couldn't quite name. Hers wide, questioning but not rejecting. And at that moment, all the rules, all the codes, all the carefully built walls, they shattered. Jae-won kissed her, desperately, hungrily, like a man who'd been starving his entire life. And Amara? She kissed him back, deeply, passionately. Right there on that kitchen counter, they made love. No words, no promises. Just two people colliding in a moment neither of them planned. 3 weeks later, Amara missed her period. She took the test in the staff bathroom, hands shaking. 1 line, 2 lines, positive. She was pregnant. by a man she barely knew, a man who hadn't spoken to her since that night. Amara was terrified. She was alone in a foreign country. She had no family here, no support system, but she knew she had to tell someone. So she went to Mrs. Choi. And you know what? Mrs. Choi was thrilled. The older woman hugged Amara tightly, tears in her eyes. "A grandchild," she whispered. "Finally, a grandchild." Mrs. Choi had been praying for this for years. She promised Amara everything: protection, support, a place to stay. "I will take care of you and this baby no matter what," she swore. But there was one person who wasn't happy: Jae-won. When his mother told him the news, his face went pale. Not with joy, with fear, because he had just broken the most sacred code of the Crimson Dragons. And the punishment for that? Death. For 9 months, Jae-won lived in terror. He watched Amara's belly grow. He saw his mother's happiness. And every day he felt the noose tightening around his neck. His gang was watching. They were always watching. And when Amara finally gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, Jae-won knew he was out of time. 2 weeks after the birth, in the dead of night, while his parents slept, he did the unthinkable. He grabbed Amara and the baby, and he threw them out, into the cold Seoul streets, with nothing. By morning, they were gone. Amara stumbled through the streets, her 2-week-old daughter strapped to her back, tears streaming down her face. She had no money, no phone, no plan. She was destroyed. The man she'd begun to develop feelings for, the father of her child, had thrown her away like garbage, all to protect his precious code. As dawn broke, Amara heard sirens. She saw a crowd gathering ahead. Curious and desperate, she pushed through, and what she saw stopped her heart.
À car accident.
A luxury sedan, completely mangled. Inside, 2 bodies, a driver and a young woman. Both died, but in the back seat, a baby, alive, crying. Amara stood frozen. She looked at her own daughter, sleeping on her back, then at the crying infant in the wreckage, and something inside her shifted. Without thinking, she reached into the car and pulled the baby out. The infant was hysterical, screaming, hungry, so Amara did what any mother would do. She sat down, right there on the curb, in front of dozens of onlookers, and she breastfed that baby. The crowd went wild. Phones came out immediately. A black woman? Breastfeeding a Korean accident victim's baby? In public? The whispers were relentless. The stares judgmental. But Amara didn't care. That baby needed her. And then, everything changed. A fleet of black luxury cars screeched to a halt. Doors flew open, and out stepped Park Min-jun. He was 32 years old, CEO of one of Korea's largest tech empires, covered in intricate tattoos that peeked from under his tailored suit. Devastatingly handsome, and absolutely wrecked with grief. That was his wife in that car. That was his newborn son in Amara's arms. The onlookers pointed. His mother, an elegant woman in her 60s, followed close behind him. When they reached the scene and saw the bodies of his wife and the driver, Min-jun collapsed to his knees, sobbing. But then his mother saw something that stopped her cold. The black woman, cradling her grandson, feeding him. The ambulance took the bodies away. The crowd slowly dispersed. But Min-jun's mother couldn't move. She walked toward Amara slowly, tears streaming down her face. And then, in front of everyone, she dropped to her knees. "Please," she begged. "Please don't leave this child. Be his mother. Be his nanny. I will pay you anything. Anything." Amara looked down at the baby in her arms. Then at the woman kneeling before her. Then at Min-jun, standing frozen, destroyed by loss. And she thought about Jae-won, the man who'd thrown her away. She needed revenge. She needed security. And she needed to survive. So she said yes. Min-jun's mother didn't just hire Amara. She gave her a 2-year contract marriage to her son. It was business, protection, for Amara, for her daughter, for the baby boy who now needed a mother. For the first few months, it was just business. Min-jun was drowning in grief. Amara was healing from betrayal. They coexisted, polite, distant, But slowly, things changed. Amara's warmth began to thaw Min-jun's frozen heart. Her laughter brought life back to the house. The way she cared for both children, her daughter and his son, it moved him. And Min-jun, he started noticing things. The way Amara hummed while cooking, her strength, her resilience. By the end of year 1, they were falling hard. But remember Jae-won? Yeah. He'd been watching every news report, every social media post. He saw Amara on Min-jun's arm. I saw her smiling. I saw her thriving. And he realized what he'd lost. He wanted her back. Wanted his daughter back. There was just one problem. Park Min-jun was his biggest rival. So here we are. The 2-year contract is almost up.
Min-jun loves Amara desperately.
She loves him back. The children are growing up beautifully. But Jae-won is circling. Dangerous, desperate, and determined. If you were Amara, would you forgive him? Give him a second chance? Or would you choose the man who gave you everything when you had nothing? Min-jun's mother is already planning the wedding. The love is real, but so is the threat. What comes next? Subscribe to Novatales TV now. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Sometimes, life treats you terribly. It throws you into places you never expected. Amara came to Korea to be a maid. Just a maid. But life had other plans. It broke her. Then it rebuilt her. Stronger, loved, powerful. So whatever you're going through right now, remember Amara's story. You never know where the darkest nights will lead you. Drop a comment telling me, Team Min-jun or Team Jae-won. And don't forget to subscribe. Because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Alright, you've been blowing up my comments. Team Min-jun versus Team Jae-won? The debate is real. But here's what you've all been waiting for, the conclusion. And trust me, nobody saw this coming. 6 months later, the wedding was set. Min-jun had proposed properly this time, not a contract, but a real proposal. Down on one knee, in front of both children, Amara said yes through tears. But 2 nights before the ceremony, Jae-won made his move. He showed up at the house, alone, unarmed, desperate. I made a mistake, he told Amara. The biggest mistake of my life. I was a coward, but I've left the gang. I've lost everything, and I'm here to beg you, please, let me know my daughter. Let me be her father. Amara looked at him, this man who'd thrown her into the streets, who'd chosen his code over his child. And you know what she said? You can know your daughter, but you'll never have me. I'm not your redemption story, Jae-won. I'm my own. The wedding day arrived. It was beautiful, intimate. Min-jun's mother cried the entire time. Both children were there. Amara's daughter as the flower girl, Min-jun's son as the ring bearer. But just as the officiant asked if anyone objected, the doors burst open. It wasn't Jae-won. It was his gang, the Crimson Dragons, led by his former second-in-command. Jae-won broke the code, the man announced coldly. And now, he pays the price. Through her, guns raised, guests screamed. But then,
Min-jun stepped forward.
Calmly, he unbuttoned his suit jacket and revealed something nobody expected. His tattoos? They weren't just art. They were marks.
Gang marks.
From a rival syndicate, one even more powerful than the Crimson Dragons. You think I'm just a CEO? Min-jun said, voice like steel. I left that life to raise my son in peace. But if you threaten my family, I'll remind you exactly who I used to be. The tension was suffocating. Guns on both sides. And then, Jae-won walked in. Jae-won stood between the 2 gangs. This ends now, he said firmly. I broke your code. Punish me, but leave them alone. The Crimson Dragons hesitated. And then Min-jun did something unbelievable. He turned to Jae-won, extended his hand. You want to be a father?
Min-jun said.
Then be one. But do it the right way. Not through violence. Through love. Jae-won stared at that hand. Then at Amara. Then at his daughter, peeking out from behind her mother's dress. And he took it. The gangs backed down. The wedding continued. And Jae-won? He kept his word. He became a father from a distance with respect, with humility, not as Amara's lover, but as her daughter's dad. 2 years later, Amara and Min-jun are stronger than ever. They run a foundation together, helping immigrant women in Korea find safe housing and work. Amara's daughter calls Min-jun dad, but knows Jae-won as Appa. Min-jun's son thrives with 2 siblings now. A baby sister Amara and Min-jun had together, and Jae-won? He opened a youth center, helping kids stay out of gang life. He'll never have Amara, but he found something else: redemption, purpose, and a relationship with his daughter. Sometimes the happy ending isn't about getting the girl. It's about becoming the man you should have been all along. So what's the lesson here? Life will test you, betray you, break you, but if you hold on to your dignity, your strength, your worth, you don't just survive. You build a life so beautiful, the people who threw you away will spend the rest of their lives wishing they hadn't. Amara didn't need Jae-won to save her. She saved herself. And that's the real power move. Drop a comment. What would you have done in Amara's position? And hit that subscribe button, because stories like this, they need to be told. I'll see you in the next one.